In this video, we are going to talk about essay writing. This is the first video for English descriptive part. In subsequent videos, we'll be talking about précis writing and dealing with comprehension. Let's come to the first part of essay writing, which is the structure. Structure is in fact the most important part of an essay writing because without a structure, you are bound to get very less marks in every essay that you write. It's important to understand the difference between essays and articles. While articles may go without a structure as well, but essays cannot move without a structure. So, the division of an essay into three parts, introduction, body as well as conclusion, is the most important when you go forward with writing an essay. We'll be talking about all these three parts and how to go forward writing these three parts in the subsequent section. Let's come to the rules when you're writing an essay. The first one that I talked about, structure, it's one of the most important parts of writing an essay. Second, coherence. We'll be talking about how to be coherent when you're writing an essay. The third is use third person pronouns. It's very important to understand not to use I, we, that is first and second person pronouns when you're writing an essay. Always use third person pronouns. In an article, you may go on by personalizing the essay by using I, we, but in an essay, you cannot do so. Fourth is use quotes and names of sources. Credibility. It gives you credibility when you use quotes and when you use the names of the sources from where you have picked up those quotes. It provides credibility to your essay. It improves the quality of your essay because when you're using another credible person's quote, then you are strengthening your argument even further. The last one is use small but unique examples. If you want to use examples, make sure that they are small and they are unique. The reason for this is twofold. First, long examples make them confusing and make them very disinteresting. And secondly, essays in RPI are small compared to essays in other examinations. So you have to be very crisp and very precise with your examples. These are the 5 basic rules that you can follow when you're writing an essay. Let's come to the topic of types of essays. There are different types of essays and you have to pick up your writing style according to the type of essay that you are confronting. You can mix up these various different types of essays as well when you're dealing with an essay if it is of a mixed type. First is illustration. If an essay is demanding you to illustrate on a certain point, then you prove that certain point through examples. For example, if they're asking you to illustrate on goods and services tax, then you tell them what exactly is goods and services tax, you define it, and then you prove your point through examples. Second is argument type essays. For example, if they're talking about women empowerment, then it's not an illustration, it's an argument because every person's point of view may differ. So you have to prove your point through different reasons as well as examples. You can use examples also here, but different reasons which show the way of your thinking, give them a personal voice, give the essay a personal touch, which helps the reader to understand how you think. So argument type essays are more effective when you give them reasons. Third is classification, dividing an essay into categories. So the essay may want you to classify the entire essay into different parts, into different categories. So you have to explain these types of essays by dividing an essay into different parts and then going through each part. Compare contrast, you may be asked to come out with similarities and differences between two things. So these are compare contrast essays. And the last one is cause and effect, wherein you are asked to understand and explain the causes of something and then the effects of something. So causes of women's suppression in India and the effects of women's suppression on India and on the society. So these are cause and effect types of essays. So before starting an essay, what you can do is you can divide an essay, or you can understand what exactly is the essay demanding from you, what type of essay is it, and what is it demanding from you. So if it is an illustration type essay, you know that you have to use more examples. If it is an argument type essay, you know that it will be more effective if you give reasons rather than giving all out examples in the essay. So that is how you make an essay more effective, by understanding what type of essay is it. Let's come to the next part, which is introduction. This is a part of the structure of the essay. An essay is divided into introduction, body paragraph, as well as conclusion. Now we'll be going through all the different parts. So an introduction can be written by three methods: hooks, funneling, and thesis statement. As you can see here, I have Captain Hook here. So he tells you that a hook is meant to make the introduction more attractive and interesting in first instance. So a hook is like something which hooks onto you to something, which sticks to the reader and stays with him for the entire essay. That is what a hook is supposed to do. So it's supposed to keep the reader with the essay for the entire 300 or 400 words. That is what a hook is supposed to do. So you can write a hook by using quotes, by using small examples, or by using some personal experience. But remember that even if you are using personal experience, do not use the words I, we. Mention it in a way that it signifies that it's a personal experience, but at the same time it's in a third tense. Hooks can also be written in many different ways. We'll be talking about that. Funneling is basically, as you can see here, it's a funnel, and when water flows into a funnel, it passes through a large volume area to a less or limited volume, and then flows down and becomes very specific. So funneling is supposed to be followed in the entire body paragraph, and you can do that in the introduction as well, where you mention for example, if you are asked to write on GST, then you mention a general statement how India is desiring to move towards a more transparent and an easier method of charging indirect taxes. So that's a general statement about GST. Then you become more specific and you talk about what are the aims of the government regarding GST, and then you become even more specific, and then you talk about what have been the achievements. So in introduction, you can write all these things in 2 to 3 sentences. That is what you're supposed to do. So this is called funneling. So the hook would be here, because this is where the reader would become interested or disinterested. Through the hook you can make it more interesting, and then you go on to funnel your argument or the introduction in the introduction part. The last is thesis statement. Thesis statement is like restating the topic of the essay, restating the topic which you have been given in words that define what exactly do you want to say, or what exactly do you want to argue in the essay. So a thesis statement is the last in the introduction, and this would become the first in the body, wherein you will connect the introduction to the body through the thesis statement, and then you will build up on the thesis statement through either further funneling or by arguing in favor of thesis statement through other methods. We'll be talking about these methods as well. Let's move on to the hooks method. The first one is using attractive statements to generate interest. As I said, you can use attractive statements or quotes given by famous personalities. You can use short stories or examples, but remember that they can be only 1 or 2 sentences long, not more than that. Using interesting facts that reader may not know. Remember that facts are important, or facts may be considered, but they should not be over relied on, because facts are more specific than general statements. So facts are usually used in order to prove a point and not to make a point. So fact is like, if you are making a statement, you make a statement here, and then you prove that statement through a fact. So fact is always the second statement and not the first statement. So facts might be used if you don't have any other method left, but try to ignore this area. Asking questions, this can also be used. This also becomes effective sometimes, not always. You can start an essay by asking a question, so that way you're trying to generate interest of the reader, but do not use it every time because it may show that you yourself are not clear about uh, what the essay is demanding. So these two methods are very important. Quotes, this is again very important, similar to using attractive statements. Make sure that you use unique quotes and not quotes which have been used a lot by the people, because that will defeat the purpose of using a quote. And last is statistics of facts. Again, this try to prevent getting into this area, but if you have no other method left, then you can get into it. The next is funneling. What is funneling? So this here has a lot of volume, so you make general statements here, and then you go on to make specific statements to prove these general statements, and you make even more specific statements and come to your conclusion here, which is very specific. So general statements are hooks. These general statements are normally hooks. They will be used both in the introduction as well as in every paragraph of your body. Second is more specific statements. These are specific statements. So these specific statements are basically explanations or arguments of the general statements that you make. So you make a general statement and then you prove that general statement through a specific statement, either an example or an argument created by you yourself. And the last is thesis statement, where you conclude or where you tell the reader that through these hooks and through these specific statements we derive, you conclude or you derive a certain thesis or you derive a certain conclusion, and that is what is the thesis statement. So this funneling and the hooks method go together, and they are to be used both in the introduction as well as the body. They are not to be used in the conclusion. Let's come to the next one, which is thesis statement, the third one. So you explain the topic in the thesis statement. It's very important to understand that in the thesis statement, do not use pronouns like it's, he, she, or if you're explaining the topic, then it would be the most widely used pronoun. So do not use these pronouns. Use, for example, if you're talking about GST, then use the word GST rather than using it. And the reason for that is that if you use it, then you are not able to connect to the argument or to the points that you have made in the paragraph above. So because thesis statement lies at the conclusion of every paragraph or at the end of every paragraph, so it's important to explain the topic by using the word itself. Use keywords. As I said, do not use pronouns. Explain the topic that you are talking about. And the third is topic plus controlling idea. So topic is the same thing, and controlling idea is what you derive from all the arguments that you have made in the entire essay or in the introduction itself. So if you're talking about GST, then you leave the introduction with a controlling idea or a derivation, and then you build up upon this in the body paragraph. So that is how you link different parts of the essay. We'll be talking about this as well. So I hope we have understood. Till now we have talked about the introduction, how to go about writing an introduction. So in an introduction you can use either only a hook if the essay is of very small length, say 200 words, like this year in 2016 it was. So you use only a hook, make it interesting, leave it there, make another statement which acts as a thesis statement, and then move on to the body paragraph, right? If it is say 300 words or 400 words, what do? You make a hook statement, make it interesting, move on to the funneling by explaining it in brief in one statement and giving some specific details. Write a thesis statement where you conclude it, and then link it to the body paragraph and move forward with the body. This is how you do it. In different types of essays, the same strategy can be followed. You can follow this strategy in different types of essays very easily. This is considered one of the most easy and one of the most effective methods of writing an essay. Having gone through the introduction, let's come to the body paragraph. Body paragraph also uses the same. You use hooks less because hooks have also already been used in the introduction. So using interesting lines in every paragraph in the body may make it look too much on to the reader. So what you do is, because the body paragraph is supposed to explain your argument or provide reasons for why you're making an argument, you use funneling approach more pronouncedly in a body paragraph. So what you do is, you make a general statement, but these are not hooks. So these are not probably quotes. So do not use a lot of quotes here. Probably one quote in an entire body will do. So what you do is, you give general statements, you give broader statements. For example, women empowerment. So you give a statement, if you're talking about impact of women empowerment on the economy, then you say that 50% of India's population is women, and their absence from the economic activity has a direct impact on rate of economic growth of India. So this is a very general statement, right? This is what you're going to talk about in the paragraph that you have mentioned it in. So this general statement will be followed by specific statements wherein you prove how your argument is true. You give certain numbers, you give certain facts, you give certain ideas or arguments made by popular people, by famous personalities. Like, you give an argument given by Shashi Tharoor regarding women empowerment, you give an argument or anything said by Gandhi. So this way you try to prove your point by being more specific, and then probably you can talk about urban versus rural, and how women participation in the urban areas in advanced sectors of manufacturing and services is boosting the economy, versus rural areas where women are still stuck in the old age agricultural works, and therefore the economy is not boosting. So that is how you can be more specific, talk about particularly a particular sector, or give a specific example and explain your point. And last is your thesis statement, which will have your topic sentence. Topic sentence is basically going back to the central theme, which was women empowerment. So you go back to the general statement of women empowerment, mention these keywords so that the examiner or the reader gets linked to the general statement that you made, or gets linked to the topic of the essay. So you mention the keywords mentioned in the topic in the thesis statement, and then you provide a supporting idea. So you explain the supporting idea, and then you give examples to explain the supporting idea. So basically the thesis statement is like the specific statements that you have mentioned, along with one other improvement. You give specific statements, and then you use the keywords in order to make the reader link whatever you are writing to the topic that is being talked about. So it's very important that at every instance, whatever you are writing is being linked to the central topic that is being talked about, because if you do not link it with it consciously, then the reader might get lost. The reader might feel that you are talking about something which is not linked to the essay that has been given to you. So these are the two things that you do in a body paragraph. You funnel, and in funneling you provide a general statement, you provide a specific statement, and through those specific statements you give a thesis statement wherein you link it with the topic sentence. This is one of the most important parts, which is coherence, which I had said that we'll talk about. Having done with the structure of introduction and body, let's come to coherence part, and then we'll move to conclusion. So what is coherence? Coherence is basically connecting first part of the body of the essay to the second part, linking it with the third part, and then linking it with the conclusion. So the idea of coherence is linkages, creating linkages between different parts. This becomes very important because if your parts are not linked together, then the reader might find the essay okay, but lack of linkages will leave certain doubts in his mind. So what you have to do is, how you can link, the easiest way to link is to use words like first, another reason, finally. Like for example, if you, when you move towards body of an essay, you say first, women empowerment is required because dash 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 reasons. Another reason for working on women empowerment or for mandatoriness of women empowerment is this. Finally, women empowerment is not only an economic issue, it's also a moral and a human issue. So you're telling the reader that these are the points that I'm making in the body, these are the different points that I'm making. So while you're changing the paragraph, you're also using words like first, another reason, finally, or simply firstly, secondly, thirdly, and this makes it easier for the reader to link different parts of the body. This is how you do it. Smoothness in the essay by linking different paragraphs. So the objective, as I said, of coherence is to make the essay smooth by linking different paragraphs. There is another method of linking a paragraph, different paragraphs, which is the statement which is the last in your first paragraph, link that last statement with the first statement of your second paragraph, and this last statement of your second paragraph can be linked with the first statement of your third paragraph. So this linking, this is the last statement, this is the first statement. This linking helps the reader in understanding that you're moving from one area to the other without leaving this area uh, unnoticed or without explaining this area completely. So this helps in linking different areas of your body paragraph. This is how you make your essay more coherent. Last is the conclusion. So different things that you need to remember in the conclusion is nothing new. You do not have to write anything new in the conclusion. Don't talk about another argument in the conclusion. You have to either summarize whatever you have written, you have to provide a way forward by giving a suggestion or a final thought, or you restate the keywords that have been given in the topic. So you restate the thesis, restate your argument using the keywords which have been given in the topic. For example, women empowerment was one keyword. So women and empowerment, these are the keywords that you can restate in the conclusion. Third is summarize. You can easily summarize, just tell them whatever you have talked about and how it is going to bring a change, or how it is going to be effective, or how it is going to be more efficient in its outcomes. Leave a final thought. What you can do in the conclusion is also to leave a final thought. So this way you're bringing out something marginally new but not totally new, because you're not explaining this final thought that you're giving out. This final thought should be derived from the arguments that you have made in the body paragraph. So these final thoughts are linked to those arguments. Make a suggestion. This is called giving a way forward, because you're making a suggestion based on the arguments that you have made in the body paragraph. This can also be done. And the last is to predict an outcome. So this is basically telling the world that women empowerment will certainly lead to improvements in our society. So you're predicting an outcome. You're predicting that how women empowerment will make our society better. So you're predicting an outcome based on the arguments that you make in the body paragraph on women empowerment. These are the things that you can do in the conclusion. I hope you have understood the basic ways of writing an essay. In the next lecture, we are going to talk about how to write a précis and also how to write answers of comprehension.